Welcome and thank you for joining me tonight. Before we begin, take a moment to find a comfortable position and allow the day to gently fade away. Tonight, we will journey to the Eternal City to walk its marble streets, hear the voices of its people, and feel the rhythm of life in ancient Rome, a world long past, yet still alive in the echoes of our imagination. As the story unfolds, let the words guide you like a gentle current, carrying you deeper into calm and deeper into rest. So, settle in and let us begin our journey. The night has almost passed, and the first breath of morning drifts quietly across the Eternal City. The rooftops of Rome are still wrapped in shadow, but the horizon begins to soften, touched with faint strokes of pale gold. The sky above the Tiber River glows gently, its waters shimmering with the reflection of a day not yet born. Mist clings low over the water, swirling lazily in the cool air, rising in delicate ribbons that drift and fade with the breeze. The city sleeps lightly, now balanced between night and day. A dog barks distantly in one of the narrow alleys, its sound softened by the heavy walls of stone. The faint creak of a wooden cartwheel carries from beyond the hills, followed by silence. Rome is waiting. Rome is holding its breath. And then, slowly, the light grows. The darkness withdraws into corners and courtyards, leaving the tiled roofs glowing faintly in the dawn. The outlines of temples and columns emerge from the shadows, the Capitoline Hill with its sacred shrines, the great sweep of the forums, colonnades, the arches that span the streets like gateways to the sky. From a high terrace, you look out upon this ancient city. The houses spread in clusters, their walls warm with color, even in the dim light, ochre and clay. Sun-worn plaster faded by time. Smoke rises gently from a few chimneys, carrying the earthy scent of wood and charcoal. Beyond, the hills curve. Softly, their slopes still shaded, their groves of olive trees whispering in the breeze. Slowly, the city awakens. A door opens, its hinges groaning softly. A woman steps into the courtyard of her domus, drawing water from a cistern. She moves quietly, her linen tunic swaying with each step, her hair bound in a simple braid. The splash of water echoes against the stone, a sound that feels both intimate and timeless. In another home, a servant sweeps the mosaic floor of the atrium, his broom scratching gently across the tiles. The faint pattern of dolphins and vines glimmers in the low light, polished smooth by countless feet. In a corner, a small shrine, the household lorarium, flickers to life as he lights a lamp before the carved figures of the family gods. The flame is steady, its glow warm and protective, a prayer for the day to come. Beyond the houses, the streets begin to stir. The stone paving, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, gleams faintly with dew. A cart rumbles over the cobblestones, its wheels creaking, pulled by a mule with patient eyes. The driver hums softly under his breath, a low tune that merges with the rhythm of hooves. The air carries new scents, fresh bread baking in clay ovens, the tempts of olives crushed for oil, the faint sweetness of figs. These aromas drift through the narrow lanes, weaving together with the smoke of torches just extinguished dot along the Tiber's edge. Fishermen are already at work. Their small wooden boats rock gently with the current, nets cast wide into the glistening water. The sound of oars dips softly, steady, rhythmic, blending with the whisper of the river. One fisherman hums as he works, his voice quiet, almost blending with the breeze. His catch will feed his household, perhaps even find its way into the markets. Later that morning, across the city, temples stir with early activity. On the Capitoline Hill, priests in white robes sweep the steps of Jupiter's shrine, scattering petals along the stone. They move in silence, their gestures precise, their faces calm. The faint ring of a bronze bell drifts down the hill, carried by the cool air, a sound so gentle it might be mistaken for a bird's call dot in the distance. The sun rises higher, its first true rays striking the marble columns of the Forum. They glow faintly, transforming from shadow into pale fire. The great arches stand tall, their carvings revealed in sharper detail, scenes of victories, of gods, of emperors, etched in stone to outlast the ages. The Forum itself is quiet now, but soon it will fill with voices, footsteps, debates, and bargains. For this moment, though, it belongs only to the dawn. The rooftops gleam brighter. The mist upon the river begins to dissolve, and the eternal city stretches itself awake. Pigeons stir upon the ledges of temples, taking flight in slow arcs across the sky. Their wings glint silver as they cross the morning light, before settling again upon the red-tiled roofs. A gentle breeze passes through the streets, carrying with it the mingled whispers of water, fire, stone, and life. The rhythm of Rome begins anew, steady, patient, eternal. And as you watch the dawn unfold, you too feel part of this great cycle, the turning of day into night and night into day, forever and unbroken. As the sun climbs higher, the eternal city begins to stir in earnest. The narrow streets, once hushed in shadow, now glow with soft light, their paving stones gleaming faintly with the last of the morning dew. From every direction, footsteps begin to converge, carrying merchants, senators, scribes, and citizens toward the heart of Rome. You follow the slope of the road as it opens into a wide expanse. Here the city breathes more deeply. Marble columns rise tall and pale, their surfaces catching the sunlight in muted flashes. Statues of gods and emperors stand upon their pedestals, gazes fixed beyond the horizon, their outlines softened by time yet still commanding. The air holds a faint echo, as though the very stones remember centuries of voices layered one upon another. The Forum is not yet at its busiest. The crowd is light, the sounds subdued, the city still waking. Merchants are arranging their wares upon wooden stalls and stone benches. One lifts a basket of olives, their dark skins shining faintly with oil. Another sets out figs, their sweetness rich and inviting. Jars of honey gleam like amber in the light, while bolts of wool and linen unfurl in gentle folds. Each gesture is unhurried, each motion calm, as though the market itself is stretching awake, dot near the steps of a basilica. Scribes sit at low wooden desks. Their wax tablets rest before them, their reed styluses poised to capture names, bargains, and records. The scratch of stylus against wax is faint but steady, a quiet rhythm that blends with the shuffle of feet and the low murmur of voices. Now and then, one scribe pauses, dipping his stylus in water, then resumes, his eyes focused, his brow calm. A senator passes, his toga draped in long folds, its whiteness bright against the muted stone. His pace is slow, his sandals striking lightly. Against the paving, he nods to acquaintances as he goes, his voice low, his words measured. There is no rush, no urgency, only the steady rhythm of civic life, repeating as it has for generations. At the edge of the Forum, the Temple of Vesta glows softly in the sun. Its round columns encircle the sacred flame, tended always, never extinguished. Two priestesses move quietly within, their linen robes flowing, their steps measured and light. They carry small jars of oil, their hands steady as they feed the eternal fire. The faint scent of smoke drifts outward, mingling with the fragrance of herbs and fruit from the nearby stalls. A young boy runs past, his laughter quick and high, but it fades quickly into the space, absorbed by the openness of the forum. His mother follows at a slower pace, calling softly, her tone gentle rather than stern. The boy slows, turning back, his footsteps scattering echoes upon the stones. The moment is brief, yet it adds to the gentle weave of life moving through the square at the far end, near the rostra. A speaker's platform of carved stone rises above the square. Though it is empty now, you can almost imagine the voices that have filled this space, orators lifting their words into the air, carried across the crowd, stirring hearts and minds. This morning, however, it rests silent, the carvings of ships, prows along its base, catching the sun. A pair of musicians arrive, carrying lyres. They settle near a shaded colonnade and begin to pluck slow, wandering notes. The music drifts softly into the forum, mingling with the murmur of voices, the creak of carts, the faint ring of chisels from a nearby workshop. The melody does not demand attention. Instead, it weaves gently into the atmosphere, another thread in the tapestry of morning. In a shaded corner, a group of philosophers gather. Their robes are simple, their faces lined with thought. One speaks softly, his hands folded before him, while the others listen in stillness. His words are not hurried, but measured, patient, each sentence falling like a drop of water into a still pool. Though the details may fade into the air, the tone remains calm, reflective, grounding. The sun lifts higher, warming the marble underfoot. The crowd grows slowly, but the pace remains steady. Merchants greet their first customers. Scribes record their first bargains. Senators speak in quiet tones. Priests tend to their temples. The forum breathes fully now, its heart beating in harmony with the city around it. You pause, standing amidst the columns, letting the sounds settle around you. The murmur of voices, the shuffle of sandals, the faint music of lyres, all of it blending into one calm rhythm. This is morning in the forum, not hurried, not chaotic, but steady, measured, eternal. The eternal city itself, alive yet calm, carrying its people forward into the day. Beyond the hum of the forum, the streets narrow once more, winding between tall insulae, the crowded apartments of the city. But as you continue, the buildings open into larger spaces, where the homes of the wealthier citizens stand apart. From the press of the crowd ahead rises the doorway of a villa, its walls plastered smooth and painted in earthy tones of red and ochre. The door opens quietly, its bronze hinges creaking, and you step into the shaded stillness of the atrium. At once, the noise of the city fades, replaced by the hush of water, the faint scent of oil lamps, and the coolness of stone underfoot. The atrium is wide and open to the sky, its roof sloping inward to frame a central opening. Beneath it, a shallow pool, the impluvium catches the morning light. Water ripples softly upon its surface, carried down from last night's rain. Reflections shimmer upon the surrounding walls, dappling painted scenes of gods, heroes, and flowering vines dot around the pool. The household stirs. A servant sweeps the mosaic floor, his broom moving steadily across the patterns of dolphins and ivy that wind beneath your feet. Another carries a tray of bread and cheese, setting it upon a low table where the family gathers for their morning meal. The scent of honey lingers in the air, mingling with the faint perfume of crushed herbs laid upon the shrine of the household gods. At the far end of the atrium, the master of the house reclines upon a couch, his robe gathered loosely around him. He speaks in a low voice to a scribe, dictating letters to be sent later in the day. The scribe's stylus moves quickly across the wax tablet, his hand practiced, his eyes steady. Their voices rise and fall softly, blending with the sound of water and the shuffle of sandals. In the peristyle beyond, sunlight filters through a colonnade of slender columns, casting striped shadows across the floor. The garden rests at the villa's heart, a space of calm and fragrance, carefully tended. Laurel trees stretch upward, their leaves whispering in the breeze. Beds of roses bloom in ordered rows, their petals glowing faintly in the light. A fountain trickles in the center, its water spilling gently over the carved rim of a basin into a pool below. The sound is steady, soothing, like breath itself. Children play quietly in the garden, their voices light but subdued. One tosses a ball against a wall, catching it with laughter that fades into the stillness. Another kneels by the fountain, trailing her fingers through the cool water, watching the ripples spread and fade. Their play does not disturb the peace. Instead, it blends into the life of the villa, as natural as birdsong. Along the covered walkway of the peristyle, a woman sits at a low stool, weaving cloth upon a small loom. Her shuttle passes back and forth with patient rhythm, the threads tightening into careful order. The sound is soft, steady, a gentle counterpoint to the fountain's flow. A basket of dyed wool rests at her feet, deep red, soft green, pale, gold, waiting to be woven into patterns of vines and flowers. In a shaded corner of the garden, a tutor reads aloud to a pair of older children. His voice is calm, deliberate, as he recites lines of poetry. The children sit still, listening, their eyes following the roll of papyrus in his hands. Though their understanding may drift, the cadence of the words fills the air like music, rising and falling in measured tones. Back within the atrium, the servants continue their tasks. One polishes a bronze lamp until it gleams. Another kneels at the hearth, arranging logs for the day's cooking. A third carries jars of olive oil from the storeroom, their surfaces cool and smooth, their fragrance earthy and rich. Each motion is purposeful, unhurried, adding to the harmony of the household. As the morning passes, the villa settles into its rhythm. The master dictates his final letters. The scribe finishes his notes. The mistress oversees the weaving, offering a word. Here and there, her tone calm, her presence steady. The children's play softens into quiet study, their tutor guiding them with patience. Servants move through the halls with practiced ease, their footsteps light against the mosaic floors. The sounds of the city beyond the calls of merchants, the creak of carts, the murmur of the forum grow faint here, softened by the thick walls and shaded courtyards. Within these spaces, life moves at a slower pace, measured and calm. The villa is its own world, a place of order, balance, and stillness. As you sit by the pool of the atrium, the light above shifts, casting gentle patterns of gold and shadow across the water. The reflections ripple, shimmer, and fade as though time itself flows softly here. The eternal city may bustle beyond the walls, but within the villa, life unfolds like a steady breath, eternal and serene. Leaving the shaded calm of the villa, you return to the streets. By now, the sun has risen fully, spilling golden light across the rooftops and warming the paving stones underfoot. The narrow alleys open into broader streets where the morning has gathered its momentum. Here, the market stalls are alive with quiet energy, not frantic, not hurried, but filled with steady motion. The pulse of the eternal city at work. Wooden tables line the roadsides, shaded by simple awnings of cloth. Merchants arrange their wares in neat displays, calling softly to passers-by, in voices that rise and fall like the hum of bees. Their words are not shouted, but offered with a practiced cadence, persuasive yet calm, like a song repeated day after day. The air is thick with aromas. Fresh bread, still warm from the ovens, releases a fragrance that mingles with the sharper scent of olives piled high in wicker baskets. Figs and grapes glisten in shallow bowls, their sweetness carried faintly on the breeze. Amphorae of wine stand upright in clusters, their clay surfaces marked with careful inscriptions. A merchant uncorks one jar, tilts it gently, and the scent of fermented grapes rises rich and mellow, lingering in the morning air. At another stall, wheels of cheese rest upon broad leaves, their surfaces pale and smooth. The vendor slices small pieces, offering them to a group of women who pause in conversation. Their laughter is soft, their gestures graceful, their baskets filled with herbs and grain. They sample the cheese, nod appreciatively, and exchange coins with the merchant, who wraps the purchase in cloth with steady hands. Along the street, fabrics ripple like water. Bolts of dyed wool and linen unfurl in shades of red, green, and deep blue. The merchants shake them out, letting the light reveal their texture. Customers run fingers across the fabric, feeling the softness, the weight, the weave. Voices murmur, coins clink, cloth is folded again, and another bundle changes. Hands, the sounds of animals mix gently into the air. A pair of goats bleat as they are led past, their hooves clicking softly on the stone. Chickens cluck within woven cages, their feathers rustling faintly. A donkey, loaded with baskets of vegetables, sways with each step, its driver guiding it. Patiently through the crowd, the animals move slowly, their presence steady, part of the rhythm of the market. You pause near a fishmonger's stall. Fresh catch from the Tiber lies upon smooth stone, glistening with water and scales. The fishmonger pours a jar of cool river water across them, keeping them fresh beneath the morning sun. The scent is sharp, briny, but not unpleasant. He works quietly, wrapping a fish in leaves and handing it to a customer who smiles in thanks. The market is not only for food. Small clay lamps are stacked in neat rows, their surfaces etched with simple designs. Bronze tools glint upon a mat, their edges sharp, their handles worn smooth. A jeweler lays out strings of beads, carnelian, glass, and pale amber, each one catching the light in subtle ways. He works with care, his fingers threading tiny pieces together, his eyes narrowed in concentration. In a shaded corner, a storyteller has gathered a small circle. His voice is low and measured, carrying tales of past battles, of gods who walked the earth, of heroes whose names linger in memory. The listeners stand still, baskets at their feet, their faces calm, their attention steady. The market moves around them, but the rhythm of his words holds them in place, weaving another thread into the fabric of morning. A musician sits nearby, plucking softly at the strings of the notes rise gently, mingling with the murmur of voices, the rustle of fabric, the calls of merchants. His music is not meant to command attention, but to accompany the atmosphere, steady, patient, soothing, like the heartbeat of the square itself. As you walk further, you notice how the market is both lively and calm. Each person has a place, each task a rhythm. A baker arranges loaves upon a wooden tray. A child counts coins carefully into his hand. A vendor adjusts the shade of his awning. The motions repeat, practiced and familiar, creating a harmony that flows through the street like the current of the Tiber. The sun warms the air, but the awnings cast cool shadows across the stalls. Light and shade mingle upon the ground, patterned like a mosaic. The market continues to hum, not loud, not hurried, but steady, like the city itself, eternal and alive. You pause once more to take it in, the colors of fruit, the textures of cloth, the scents of bread and oil, the voices blending into one low chorus. This is the market of Rome, where the eternal city gathers its life each morning. And as the day grows, so too does the rhythm of the stalls, carrying Rome forward into its endless cycle of work, trade, and rest. As the morning matures, the streets begin to shimmer faintly under the sun's warmth. Dust rises lightly with each passing cart, and the air is alive with the hum of voices. Yet just beyond the city's bustle lies a sanctuary of calm, the great baths of Caracalla, vast and enduring, a place where water, stone, and silence intertwine. You approach through a wide avenue flanked by cypress trees. Their tall forms rise dark against the sky, their branches whispering softly in the breeze. Ahead, the massive walls of the baths loom like a fortress, their arches soaring, their bricks glowing warm and red beneath the midday sun. The scale is humbling, but the atmosphere is not overwhelming. Instead, it is steady, grounding, and welcoming. Passing through the grand entry, you step into the shaded interior. The noise of the streets fades instantly, replaced by the muffled echoes of footsteps on marble. The air is cool here, touched with the faint fragrance of oil and the mineral scent of water. Light pours down from high windows, illuminating mosaics of sea creatures that swim across the walls in shimmering colors, dolphins, fish, and curling waves. Their presence is playful yet serene, a reminder that this place belongs to both body and spirit. You begin in the frigidarium, the cold hall. Its vast space is supported by towering columns, their surfaces smooth and pale, rising high into vaulted ceilings. Pools of clear, cool water rest at the center, their surfaces still, reflecting the light in trembling patterns against the stone. A handful of bathers stand silently at the edge, their breaths rising faintly in the cool air. One steps forward, descending the marble steps slowly, immersing himself into the water with a soundless grace. Ripples spread outward, gentle, unhurried, fading quickly into calm. The chill of the frigidarium awakens, but it also soothes, preparing the body for what follows. From here, you move to the tepidarium, the warm chamber. The transition is soft, the air shifting from cool to mild, wrapping gently around your skin. The room glows with lamplight, its surfaces decorated in subtle patterns of vines and flowers. The warmth relaxes the body, loosens the breath, and stills the mind. A few bathers recline on stone benches, their voices hushed, their conversations slow and measured. The gentle trickle of water from bronze spouts creates a steady rhythm, a sound like rain falling in a sheltered garden. Beyond lies the caldarium, the hot hall. The air here is thick with steam, the floor warm beneath your feet. A great circular pool glimmers in the lamplight, its surface shrouded in mist. The dome above curves high, its windows framing the blue of the sky. Bathers descend carefully into the water, their movements slow, their faces calm. The heat soaks into the body, easing muscles, softening thought. The sound of water lapping against marble echoes softly, steady and soothing dot around the pool attendants. Move quietly, carrying small flasks of oil, offering massages with firm but gentle pressure. The scent of olive oil fills the steam, earthy and grounding. Their hands work with practiced rhythm, kneading shoulders, smoothing arms, pressing gently into the flow of muscle and bone. The motions are unhurried, like waves rising and falling. Along the shore, after the caldarium, you wander into smaller chambers, saunas filled with fragrant herbs, rooms where the air is heavy with cedar and laurel. Here, men recline in silence, their eyes closed, their breathing slow. In another space, wrestlers practice gentle movements, their bodies glistening, their forms outlined in the dim light. Their motions are slow, deliberate, more ritual than sport. Finally, you pass into the open-air palestra, the exercise court. Columns rise in ordered lines around the square, framing the bright sky. The sun warms the marble underfoot, yet the air remains gentle, softened by the presence of trees at the edges. A few citizens stretch and move, their gestures slow, their breathing deep. Birds sing faintly in the cypress beyond the walls. It is not noise, but a continuation of the bath's harmony, a reminder that even movement can be calm. The baths are more than water. They are a rhythm of transition, cold to warm, warm to hot, stillness to movement, body to spirit. Each chamber flows into the next like a current, carrying the visitor deeper into balance. Time here does not rush. It lingers, expands, softens. As you return at last to the atrium of the baths, you pause. The air is cool once more, the sounds gentle, the atmosphere steady. Around you, bathers move at their own pace, some entering, some leaving, all part of the eternal cycle of the place. You breathe in, slowly, and feel the calm settle deep within you. The baths of Caracalla remain, as they have for centuries, a sanctuary of water and stone, of silence and rest. Leaving the baths behind, refreshed and calm, you wander once more through the shaded streets of the city. The sun rests high now, its brightness softened by awnings stretched across shop fronts and colonnades. The sound of Rome has grown fuller. Footsteps, voices, carts, rumbling slowly over stone, but still it flows with a measured rhythm, steady as a heartbeat. Your steps carry you toward the porticos of the Forum, where shadows stretch long beneath rows of marble columns. Here, away from the hum of the markets and the bustle of merchants, small gatherings are formed. Men in simple robes sit upon low benches or stand with hands folded, their faces calm, their voices low. These are the philosophers of Rome, teachers of thought, guardians of wisdom, speaking not to stir the crowd, but to steady the mind. You pause at the edge of one such circle. The philosopher stands in the shade, his robe gathered at his shoulder, his hair touched with grey. His voice is slow, deliberate, each word released with care. He does not hurry, nor does he raise his tone. Instead, his sentences fall like drops of water into a still pool, soft, steady, and clear. His pupils sit in silence, their eyes steady upon him. Some are young, their faces eager, brows furrowed in thought. Others are older, their expressions calm, softened by experience. All listen without interruption, letting the words settle into them as naturally as the breath. He speaks of balance, of how life, like the seasons, flows in cycles. of how joy and sorrow, wealth and poverty, triumph and failure are but shadows that pass, leaving behind the substance of character. He reminds his listeners that to master the self is greater than to conquer an empire, that to still the heart is a victory beyond any battlefield. His words are not commands, but invitations. They drift into the shade like a breeze, weaving between the columns, lingering in the still air. You feel them settle, not as doctrines to be memorized, but as rhythms to be absorbed, calm, grounding, timeless. Around the circle, the life of Rome continues. Merchants pass by with baskets upon their shoulders. A group of children run briefly across the square, their laughter echoing before fading again into silence. A musician plucks a few notes on a lyre, the sound wandering softly through the portico. None of this disturbs the philosopher's voice. Rather, it joins with it, forming the background to his calm reflections. The harmony of the city itself. He pauses often, allowing silence to fill the space between his words. These pauses are not empty, but full. Moments of stillness where thought can rest, where breath can deepen, where the world seems to expand quietly. In the hush, you hear the faint rustle of leaves from a nearby plane tree, the shuffle of sandals upon the marble, the soft coo of pigeons perched upon the roof. The lesson continues, unhurried. He speaks of the stars, their constancy above, their indifference to the troubles of men. He speaks of the river, always flowing, never the same, yet always itself. He speaks of the soul, which finds peace not in possessions, but in alignment with nature, with order, with harmony. His students remain still, their eyes soft, their breathing steady. A few close their eyes, not in sleep, but in listening, as though to carry the words deeper within. The philosopher himself stands quietly, his hands folded, his gaze calm, as though he too is but a vessel for the wisdom that passes through him. The sun shifts slowly above, casting new patterns of light and shadow across the colonnade. The lesson winds on, not with urgency, but with patience, like a river flowing, unending toward the sea. In time, his words trail into silence. The circle remains still for a long moment, absorbing the quiet as much as the teaching. Then, one by one, the pupils rise, bow gently, and depart, their steps light, their faces serene. The philosopher gathers his robe, turns, and walks slowly down the shaded path, his figure blending into the play of light and shadow. The portico is quiet once more, yet his presence lingers, like the echo of a song that continues after the last note has been played. You remain a moment longer beneath the columns, breathing in the stillness. Around you, the city continues, steady and alive, but within this shade, the rhythm of Rome has slowed, softened, calmed. The eternal city is not only marble and empire, but also silence, thought, and the quiet voice of wisdom carried on the air. The day has reached its height, and the forum shimmers in the midday sun. Marble columns glow pale and warm, while the air hums with the measured footsteps of citizens passing steadily along the streets. Yet amidst the ordinary rhythm of the city, something special begins to stir. The slow unfolding of a procession. Words spread softly, carried from stall to stall, whispered between neighbors. Merchants pause in their work, folding cloth, lowering baskets, arranging their wares with care. Citizens step aside, gathering in clusters along the edge of the forum. The sound of the city grows quieter, not silenced, but softened, as though it too makes room for what is to come. At first, the sound is faint, the low hum of a flute, the gentle beat of a drum. Then it grows clearer, flowing into the square like the first ripples of a river. The music is not urgent, not sharp. It is steady, patient, a rhythm that carries the listener forward without haste. The musicians appear, walking in pairs. There, flutes release high, airy notes, weaving with the deeper pulse of drums. Lyres add a soft shimmer, their strings plucked in measured time. The music fills the air without overwhelming it, like sunlight filtering gently through leaves. Behind them come the dancers. Their linen garments move with the breeze, their arms outstretched in gestures of offering. Their steps are slow, deliberate, like waves rising and falling upon the shore. Tiny bells at their ankles chime faintly, a sound so soft it seems almost part of the air itself. Next come the priests, robed in white, their heads bowed, their hands carrying sacred vessels. Bronze bowls gleam in the sun, releasing faint curls of incense that drift skyward, fragrant and sweet. Garlands of flowers hang from their arms, petals brushing softly against the folds of their robes. Each step they take is measured, each motion part of a greater rhythm, repeated countless times, yet never hurried. The people bow their heads as the priests pass, their gestures calm, reverent, unforced. Children lean close to their mothers, watching the procession with wide eyes, their voices hushed to whispers. The air feels different now, fuller, deeper, as though the space itself is drawn into the ceremony. And then, at the center, the sacred image appears. A statue of the goddess is carried aloft upon a wooden platform, borne carefully upon the shoulders of strong men. Draped in fabric of gold and crimson, crowned with garlands, the figure glows in the sunlight. Her face, serene and timeless, gazes outward as if upon all of Rome at once. The platform moves slowly, swaying gently with the rhythm of footsteps. The bearers breathe in unison, their shoulders steady, their pace unbroken. The goddess glides through the square, her presence calm, her silence profound. Incense rises before her, flowers scatter at her feet. Music drifts all around. The crowd remains hushed, their voices absent, their movements slow. A woman kneels and lays a sprig of laurel upon the ground. An old man raises his hands, palms upward, his lips moving in silent prayer. A child releases a handful of petals, which fall gently, carried by the breeze. Each gesture joins the procession, not by movement, but by stillness. By reverence, the sacred image passes by the rostra, where orators once raised their voices in fiery debate. Today, the platform moves past in silence, the carved prows of ships. At the base of the podium, catching the glint of sunlight, the goddess continues onward, her bearers turning slowly toward the temple steps. There, the ascent begins. Step by step, the platform rises along the marble stairs, incense curling in its wake. The priests follow, their bowls lifted, their voices murmuring prayers in low, steady tones. The music softens, its notes stretching into the air like threads. Of light dot, at last, the goddess reaches the temple. She is carried within, her figure disappearing into the cool shadow of the columns. The crowd remains still, listening as the final notes of the flutes fade, as the last chime of the dancers. Bells lingers in the air. Then, slowly, life resumes. Merchants return to their stalls. Families move on. Children whisper once more. The rhythm of the city continues, steady and unbroken. Yet for those who watched, the memory of the procession lingers. It is not the sound, of music or the sight of garlands that remains, but the calm presence that filled the square, the sense of harmony woven into each step. The eternal city has countless rhythms, the rush of markets, the debates of senators, the prayers of priests. But in this moment, its rhythm was one of stillness, reverence, and quiet order. You stand a moment longer, watching the temple doors close, feeling the calm settle like a gentle weight upon your shoulders. The procession has ended, but its peace remains, carried upon the air like incense, like a whisper, like the steady heartbeat of Rome itself. The sun begins its slow descent, and the warmth of the day softens into the gentler tones of evening. The streets of Rome glow with golden light, shadows stretching long between the columns and arches. Merchants close their stalls, gathering the last of their goods. Children's laughter fades into the distance as families retreat to their homes. The city does not grow silent, but its rhythm slows. The pulse of the eternal city easing into rest. You find yourself before the doors of a villa once more, this time invited to join the family as they gather for their evening meal. Passing through the cool atrium and the shaded peristyle garden, you arrive at the triclinium, the dining room where couches line the walls around a low table set for the feast. The room glows with lamplight, soft flames flickering within bronze, lamps that hang from the walls. Their light casts gentle shadows across painted frescoes, scenes of vineyards, gardens, and mythic banquets of the gods. The air carries the faint fragrance of roses and the richer scent of roasted meat and spiced wine. The atmosphere is not grand, but intimate, steady, calm. The family reclines upon couches, their robes draped in soft folds. They rest upon cushions embroidered with simple patterns, their gestures unhurried, their voices low. Servants move quietly, between them carrying trays of bread, bowls of olives, platters of fruit. The first course is light, figs split open to reveal their sweetness, cheeses soft and pale, honey gleaming like amber upon small clay dishes. The table is a mosaic of colors and textures, a dish of lentils, earthy and warm, fresh cucumbers, sliced thin, glistening with oil, dates piled high, their skins wrinkled, their flavor rich, a loaf of bread broken apart, steam rising faintly into the lamplight. Each offering is simple, yet each carries the fullness of the earth, the abundance of the season. Conversation drifts gently across the room. A story shared, a question asked, a quiet laugh released and quickly absorbed into the stillness. There is no rush, no raised voices, only the calm exchange of words, flowing like water in a shaded stream. The rhythm of the meal is as steady as the day itself, a continuation of the balance carried from dawn to dusk. Musicians enter, their steps soft upon the mosaic floor. One plucks a lyre, the strings trembling with a delicate sound. Another raises a flute, releasing notes that float like threads of silver through the air. The music is light, slow, unhurried, weaving seamlessly into the murmurs of conversation, into the clink of cups upon the table, into the quiet breath of the evening. More courses arrive, carried by patient hands. A roasted fowl, its skin glistening, with herbs, a dish of chickpeas stewed with onion and garlic. Small fish, seasoned and served with slices of lemon. Yet even as the dishes change, the pace remains the same, measured, calm, as though the meal itself is a ritual of stillness. A storyteller is invited to speak. His voice is low, his tone gentle, his words drawn from old tales. He tells of Aeneas, the wanderer who fled the burning city of Troy, who carried his father upon his back, who came to the shores of Italy to plant the seeds of Rome. His story is familiar, but it flows like music, each sentence released with care, each pause lingering like a held breath. The listeners recline in stillness, their eyes half closed, their thoughts drifting with the rhythm of the tale. Between the story and the music, the feast continues. Wine is poured carefully from a clay jug into cups of glass, its surface catching the lamplight like liquid rubies. It is mixed with water, softened, light, sipped slowly. The fragrance is mellow, the taste rich yet gentle, warming without haste. A servant refills a cup, the sound of liquid pouring soft and steady, like rain upon stone. As the final course is set, pears baked with honey, their sweetness rising into the air. The family settles deeper into their couches. The music softens further, the flute's notes stretching longer, the lyre plucked with fewer, slower touches. Conversation dwindles into contented silence. The glow of lamps deepens, their flames steady, their shadows dancing lazily upon the walls. Outside, the sounds of Rome grow faint. The footsteps of late passers-by echo distantly. The call of a night bird drifts across the rooftops. The eternal city has not fallen silent, but it rests now in gentler rhythms. Its pulse slowed, its breath softened. Within the triclinium you rest as well, reclining upon a cushion, letting the fragrance of honey and herbs, the sound of flute and lyre, the glow of lamplight wash over you. The feast is not an ending, but a continuation of the day's harmony, a final act before the city surrenders to the embrace of night. Evening deepens, and the light of the sun withdraws behind the western hills. A gentle twilight settles across the eternal city, softening its outlines, turning marble pale and rooftops dusky red. The voices of the day grow fewer, their echoes fading into the vastness of stone. Rome, though never silent, begins to rest. The streets are lit now by torches set into bronze holders upon walls and arches. Their flames flicker and bend with the breeze, sending shadows across the paving stones. The air is cooler, carrying the faint scent of smoke, oil, and the earth itself, still warm from the sun. The sky above shifts from violet to deep indigo, the first stars appearing one by one, timid at first, then more boldly, until they scatter the heavens in soft light. Along the streets, taverns close their doors, their laughter and music fading into memory. The last of the merchants pack their baskets, tying bundles of cloth, gathering jars of oil, stacking loaves of bread to be carried home. Their footsteps echo softly, unhurried, as they retreat into the courtyards of their homes. Watchman passes, his sandals steady against the stone. He carries a staff tipped with bronze, which glints faintly in the torchlight. His steps are slow, measured, his eyes calm as they move across the quiet alleys. From time to time he pauses, listening, ensuring that the peace of the night is held intact. His presence is reassuring, not stern but steady, like the rhythm of the city itself in the Forum. Once filled with voices and footsteps, silence stretches wide. The great columns rise like dark sentinels, their outlines softened by shadow. The temples rest in quiet majesty, their steps empty, their doors closed. The statues of gods and emperors stand still beneath the stars, their faces half lit by torchlight, half claimed by the night. The air carries the faint echo of the day's processions and debates, but now it belongs to stillness. Across the river, the Tiber flows quietly, its surface gleaming faintly with the reflection of torches and stars. Small boats drift near the banks, their oars dipping in slow, steady rhythm. A fisherman casts his net one final time, the splash muffled in the darkness. He waits in silence, listening to the flow of water, patient and calm. The river, eternal and unhurried, carries its song softly into the night. In the neighborhoods, families gather in their courtyards. Lamps glow within the walls, casting warm circles of light upon mosaic floors. Conversations are low, laughter gentle, stories shared before rest. Children lean against their mothers, their eyes heavy, their voices fading. Fathers set aside their cups, servants douse the lamps, and the courtyards fall into shadow. From high upon the Palatine hill, the city stretches below like a vast tapestry. Torches glimmer along the avenues, scattered like threads of fire among the darkness. The Colosseum stands as a dark silhouette, its arches glowing faintly where lamps burn within. Beyond, the Circus Maximus lies still, its long field empty, waiting for the races of another day. The sounds that once filled these spaces are gone, replaced by silence, replaced by night. The breeze grows cooler, rustling through cypress trees planted along the gardens. Their branches sway softly, their shadows long upon the earth. Owls call in low tones, their voices drifting across the rooftops. Dogs bark faintly in the distance, then fall silent again. Each sound is sparse, softened, leaving space for the greater stillness of the night. A final cluster of revelers leaves a tavern, their laughter subdued now, their footsteps uneven yet light. They pass into the shadows of the alleyways, their voices fading until only the crackle of torches remains. The city, vast and eternal, exhales. Standing in the shadow of an arch, you pause to take in the sight. The eternal city at night is not asleep, yet it is hushed, wrapped in a calm that lingers above its streets. The marble gleams faintly, the torches glow, the stars shine. Rome rests, but Rome endures, steady and timeless beneath the heavens. Night has fully claimed the eternal city. The air is cool now, carrying the faint scent of olive groves and distant smoke. The torches burn lower, their flames softened, their light trembling gently against the walls. Shadows deepen across the streets, blending into the vast stillness of the night. You walk once more toward the banks of the Tiber. The river flows dark and steady, its surface glimmering with fragments of starlight. The moon hangs low above the water, casting a silver path that drifts and wavers with the current. The sound of the river is constant, a hushed, eternal whisper, steady as breath along the banks. The last of the fishermen gather their nets. Their boats are drawn onto the shore, their voices low, their movements slow. One lights a small lantern, its glow soft against the dark. Another kneels to wash his hands in the river, the ripples spreading outward, catching the moonlight. Their work is done, and now they too prepare for rest. In the distance, the temples rise against the sky, their outlines dark yet enduring. The columns of Jupiter's shrine stand tall upon the Capitoline hill, their surfaces touched faintly by moonlight. The round temple of Vesta holds its eternal flame within, though its glow does not reach beyond the closed doors. The sacred spaces of Rome rest as the city rests, watchful and still. Above, the stars shine brighter. Constellations stretch across the heavens. Orion with his belt of 3 lights, the Great Bear curving wide, the endless river of the Milky Way flowing overhead. These same stars shone upon Rome centuries ago, and they shine still, unchanged, eternal. The citizens of Rome looked upward as you do now, their thoughts carried into the night, their questions woven into the silence. You find a quiet place along the riverbank and sit upon the cool stone. The sound of water fills your ears, mingling with the faint rustle of leaves from nearby trees. The air is still, the city hushed, the world balanced. You breathe slowly, deeply, the rhythm of the night matching the rhythm of your own body. The eternal city is vast, filled with noise and life, with triumphs and struggles. Yet here, at night, it is simply calm. The voices of the day are gone. The footsteps have faded. The great arches and temples stand in silence. What remains is the heart of the city, steady, patient, timeless. As you gaze at the stars reflected upon the Tiber, you feel the same stillness that countless others have felt before. Senators, merchants, priests, poets, soldiers, all lived their days beneath these same constellations, all paused in quiet moments, all wondered at the vastness above. The stars did not answer, yet their silence carried its own truth, that time flows on, that life endures, that rest comes to all. Slowly, the sounds of the world drift further away. The crackle of torches softens, the rustle of leaves fades, even the whisper of the river grows distant, blending into the quiet. What remains is peace, the deep stillness of night, the calm of the eternal city asleep beneath the stars. Here, upon the banks of the Tiber, in the heart of ancient Rome, the world rests. And so may you breathe softly. Let your body grow heavy, your thoughts drift, your spirit ease. The stars above remain, steady and constant. The river flows onward, carrying the memory of this night. And as Rome rests beneath the heavens, we to find our place within the endless rhythm of time. For the city endures, the river endures, the stars endure, and the rest of the story has yet to be written.